Power of Rome stretched from this province of Britannia across to Syria, Romania, through Italy of course, North Africa, Egypt, even to the banks of the Rhine. The empire was a melting pot of cultures, ideas and languages. And today we think of ourselves as being multicultural, but the Romans had it off to a perfection, to a fine art. Between 43 AD and 410, this province was a cosmopolitan, fundamental part of the greatest empire in history.
But why did they build a fort at the Lunt? The site is a typical location for a Roman fort and fits into the diagonal line of defence from Gloucester to Yorkshire that formed the frontier in AD 60. But the fort was only ever a temporary military structure. It lasted 20 years or thereabouts, then, having fulfilled its requirements, was no longer needed. By AD 80, occupation ended at the Lunt. On retirement, soldiers could have a parcel of land where they served, thus spreading the power of Rome and the civilization, its language, its money and its ideals. By AD 114, you could travel from Britain to Syria and still all be within the empire.
Roman roads were the motorways of the empire, and here I'm standing at High Cross. This is the junction between the Fossway and the Watling Street, and it's marked by this grand monument behind me. And of course, they linked trade networks across this province and beyond into the empire. After all, they do say all roads lead to Rome. We're on the Fossway, one of the great Roman roads. This was built between AD 44 and 68.
Travelling craftspeople used the road network to move from place to place, to literally buy into civilization. With them came new goods, foods and cultures, as well as new tastes and fashion.
Roman roads were constructed out of layers of compacted stones to give a surface that would withstand all weathers and all sorts of transport. I think they must have suffered roadworks as well. Here we are at Herbert Art Gallery Museum with some of the objects that are on display here from the Tripontium site. Some of these objects came from across the empire. We've got Samian ware, this lovely red moulded pottery which came from Gaul, modern day France. And we've got pottery which is used as transporting containers across the empire. We've got oil and wine coming from Italy and Spain coming into this province. In return, we gave them cloaks and hunting dogs, raw materials such as tin and copper. Many travellers along the Roman roads would have been tired and exhausted from their long journeys, whether it was by horse, cart, donkey or on foot. Here at Tripontium, which means the place of the three bridges, there was a mansio and a bathhouse where they can clean themselves up.
Roman women wanted to look as beautiful as possible, especially wealthy ladies who looked to new ideas and fashions coming into Britain from across the empire. Scent was important. A Roman woman who smelt nice was presumably healthy and wealthy. Blue or green eyeshadow were very popular, made from ground up minerals. Rose petals, red chalk and even crocodile dung were used to redden ladies' cheeks, though the latter may have been a very expensive import and probably smelly as well.
And here at Mansetta, which started out as a small Roman fort, and I'm standing on all that's left of the bank of the rampart of that fort. The settlement that grew up here between the 2nd and 3rd centuries and expanded used the natural resources. They exploited the clay here and made pots. Not a single pot, not a range of pots, but mortaria, the mixing bowls that the entire new civilised population in this province and beyond would need. Here in Ulster, we've got a fantastic museum telling the stories of daily life in this part of Roman Warwickshire. Ulster began as an auxiliary fort, and then in the Roman period a walled town developed by about AD 100. Let's go and have a look. Household objects, coins and jewellery found by members of the public and archaeologists who are working here in Ulster sit alongside the reconstruction here of an archaeological excavation. You can see down here we've got a pit ready to be excavated, different colour soil, and next to it we've got a post hole which has already been half sectioned and it's about to be recorded. It looks like the archaeologists have just gone off for a tea break. A pit containing 50 high-quality Samian ware vessels made in France, made in Gaul, were found by archaeologists here in Ulster. They believe there was a market stall and something happened and it crashed or collapsed and all the Samian pots were broken. Wonder why that all happened. But it occurred in the Antonine period, between 138 and AD 161. It's interesting to think the cost of getting that all over here, these beautiful imported Samian ware vessels, who would have bought them if they hadn't been broken? What a disaster. What did the market trader feel like? The Coventry and District Archaeology Society have received HLF funding to do research on this site, which may be an important temple just outside Broadwell. It was discovered by aerial photography in the 1990s, and the Society have done field work and excavation here, which has shown there's pottery on the site from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Here we are at Rete Coriol Torverum, otherwise known as Leicester. Behind me, the Jury Wall, which was built between AD 125 and 130, is one of the largest surviving pieces of Roman architecture you can see in Britain today. It formed part of the bathhouse complex. Lead pipes were expensive, so most people chose to come to a bathhouse like the one here. Bathers would start in this room, which is the cold room. This is the frigidarium. Then they'd progress into this next room, which is the warm room, the tepidarium. A bathhouse like this would be a place where you would socialise and do business just as much as get clean. Then into the 3rd room, the hot room or caldarium. Then beyond this, where the museum stands now, is a plunge pool, a cold plunge. And beyond that, bathers would cover themselves in sweet smelling oils and perfume and scrape off the dirt of their business that they've done here in Rete with a strigil. Here at the museum there's a great reconstruction of what a Roman kitchen might have looked like, using real bits of pottery that were found on the site and modern reconstruction to give an idea about what a kitchen could have looked like. So we've got a replica of the griddle there where you do cooking. Underneath where that archway is, that's where you do storage of your cooking utensils. There's an amphora to the side for keeping wine or maybe garum, the fish sauce. These are some wonderful geometric, intricate mosaic patterns on the floor. You'd want your visitors, your guests, to come and see it and appreciate the quality and the expense of it. So you wouldn't have a great deal of furniture in here, perhaps a side table to put a drink on, and nothing more while you did business or talked about the issues of the day. The Lunt Roman fort was reoccupied in around 260 AD. The archaeological evidence is a bank and a ditch and a gateway, of which the excavators found the 6 post holes to support the structure, which was much like this one. There were no internal structures, so we think the soldiers who were based here during this reoccupation may have been in tented accommodation. And the only bit of dating evidence is a single broken coin of the Emperor Gallienus. A crisis was about to befall the emperor. Frankish tribes were attacking into Italy and Gaul. 2 rebellions he dealt with successfully, but he continued to be unpopular with the army. By AD 265, Gaul was under the control of Postumus, who now called himself emperor. So was this reoccupation of the Lunt as a result of all this turmoil? We will probably never know. Here in Coventry, we've even got Roman archaeology now, right from this site here. I'm outside the Herbert Art Gallery Museum. You can see the building behind me. And in 2010, they found evidence of Romans living here in Coventry. A ditch, V-shaped, with 2 sherds of Roman greyware dating from the 2nd century AD were found here. Looking back now at history, we start to see similarities and differences with the people who lived in this province of the Roman Empire, this province of Britannia. Some of the things that they were facing weren't that different to the things that we do every day now in this time of ours. But in the end, these were all people, whether they're in this Roman province, or whether they're now. We're not so different after all.